Good morning, everybody. In this project, I'm going to create 3 pages to simulate how users log into the website. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new website. This website is going to be empty website, Visual C#, and I'm going to call it on the desktop. We will call it login site. Okay, since we have one already, so I'm going to call it login site 1, and then you hit OK. We want it to be an empty website. All right, in the Solution Explorer we don't have anything right now, so I'm going to create 3 folders, one for JavaScript, one for style sheets, and one for images. So I'll right click here and add new folder. This one is going to be style sheet, and another one for images, and another one for JavaScript. All right. Now, this website have 3 pages so far at this point. What we're going to add a new page, and this page is going to be the default ASP.x, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Hit add, and I will add another one, add new item. This one is going to be main ASP.x. Hit add, and then we will add another one that is called register.aspx. Okay. All right. So we have our 3 pages. In addition to this, because as I was saying, that we will create style sheets that will include all the style sheets, and we include it in the project when we need it. So for example, if I say add on this folder a new item, and the item that we use, because it's a style sheet, it's called style sheet, and you can call it whatever you want to call it, main style sheet, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so main style.css. Okay. Now if you click on OK, now notice this page is empty. This tag is for the body. I'm just going to change the background color to show you how it is, how does it take effect in the pages that we include. So what we want to do in here, I'm going to say background. What color do you want? Light blue. Let's see. All right. So the background color, so the body tag will have light blue. Now let's go to the register page. If we go to the Solution Explorer and then pin it, and we have a mistake here because we put the style sheet in the wrong folder, so I'm going to drag it and drop it in the right folder. Okay, so we have it in the right folder. Okay, so this style sheet, all I have to do, watch what I do. All I need to do is just drag it and drop it where? In the header. So if I drag this style sheet and drop it here, it will include the link to my style sheet reference. Is that clear? That's pretty easy. Now, this page is the default page. If I click on design, what do I expect? I expect to see blue background color. Is that clear? Yes or no? Okay, so we saw that. Now this, because we included the style sheet, style sheet on that page, the default page, you saw the background is blue. Now if I go back to the main page and I want to use the same style sheet, what do? Just simply drag it and drop it in the header section. And I do the same thing for the register page. Oh, we are in the register. Did we do it in the register? This is the main. And what about the default? No, we didn't do it in the default. Okay, so we need to do it in the default. Okay, so I'll do the same thing with the default. So now, I guarantee that all my pages has the same styles. All right? طيب. Now, we want to go to our default page and let's look at the design. I have a main div. This is my main div. I just added a few lines. If I want to design the style for this div, if we want to change the design for this div, remember the design that we've done in our design, how we made it with the borders and things like that? How do I do that? Where do we enter the design? We've done it before, sah wala la? Do you remember? We've done it in a previous project. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find that project. It was in the BMI project. Copy the code that we want from there and add it to our style sheet and then just simply use it. So if I go to the, or let me show it to you here first. Let me create the design here and then we'll copy it later on. Because here you can do design for this div. This is your div, right? Yeah. So you can go in the either you can do it in the property. You see this in the property? You can click on the design and then it'll open your design for the property, for the div, right? And make sure it is for the div. All right? So you can do that. For example, if we want, what do you want? The background color to be different? So what background color do you want? You want yellow or pink? Yellow with the blue? Maybe this is yellow. Okay. All right. And you want the border. If you want border, for example, you say what? You say the... Let's just do the box, okay? Okay, so I want the top. We want the top. These are the padding, the margins. But where is the border? Okay, we don't have the border here, so we need to do it in here. Okay, so we want it just. We don't want it dashed. We want it to be solid, and then here solid. Border style solid, okay. The width, I want it to be thin. And the background, the border style, you can put different color if you want. Okay, black or green. Okay, so we'll hit okay. Alright, so this div has a style now. But the problem, where did it include the style? If you click on the source, you see that you have a style. Do you see that? It added all of this in here. So if I want to create my own style, where would I do it? How would I do it? Where should we include it? I go to the, remember we created a main style sheet here? Can I create, for example, we want to make it because of, we want to use a class ID here, right? So I'm going to call my div or main div. Okay, and then I will open close bracket. Right? طبعا You can do the same thing here you've done here, or you can copy it from there. Now we already have our own design, so I'm going to go and grab the one that we have because it has more features. These are, because we're using Visual Studio 2010, it doesn't have a lot of the new feature. So I'm going to find the one that we've done before and copy it in here. Otherwise, you will have to do what? You'll have to go in here to the default and copy these styles. Do you see these? You will have to copy these styles and put them where? In there. Okay. So I can do that, Control X, okay, from here, and add them where? Go to the main style, and then add them in here. Sorry, the style sheet, and add them in here. You can do that. All right. Then you will have to do all of that manually. Okay, right? Border is that, and then this. Okay, something like that. I wanted to show you both ways, the difference between this way and the other way. The other one you can do the style within the page itself, and here you can add it outside. Now, what we want to do, I want to bring in the one we've done before. You can copy any design you want, whether it says W3 School, or you can bring in something you've done before. So I'm going to go to my computer. Just a second. I'll show you what we've done. You can do it later on. Okay. Remember we did in the G drive. Let me just pause it so we don't. All right. So what we've done is that we've copied some of the style sheets that we've done before, and we simply want to use it in our project. Now, here there are some features that are not viewed in the current browser that we have, which is the Explorer. So we will have to view it in Chrome. So I've copied these. Now, if I go back to the default page, this is my div. If you look at the property, you notice there's something called what? Class. So if I click on that class and click on the arrow, I should see the main div, the one we just created. Is that clear? So if I hit OK, notice what happened. It changed the div. I'll repeat it again. So in this is your div, right? In the properties in the div, you have class. You click on the class, and underneath it, it will have the class that we just created in the style sheet. Now I can select that one. Now to view this, when you view this, you will view it. If I just say view this page, the default page, right click on it and view, open in, just click on view in browser, you'll notice, you want to save it? Yes, save it. You'll notice what happens. It'll open the Explorer, and you don't see these features that we talked about, like the rounded corners, the shadow, the text shadow, and all of this. It's taking a long time. You notice it didn't have, it does have rounded corner. It has, I guess it does have some shadow. Do you see that shadow? There is a little bit of a shadow. But what you notice now, you have a background here and a background here. You have these here. Why do you have these? You have these because we said I want it to be left margin auto and right margin auto, and I want it to be 80% of this the page. So now this is what we see, but notice it doesn't have a lot of the features. If I go back and view it if you want to view it in a different browser, okay, suppose Internet Explorer doesn't support these features, so what do? You go into your Visual Studio project, and then I want to make sure that we change a few things here. In the style sheet here, the box shadow is CCC. I'm going to make that gray, okay? Gray color, okay? And the radius, I'm going to make it 10, okay? So if you want to see this page in different browser, for example, if you want to see it in Chrome, you can say browse with, and you have Chrome. If you want to set your Chrome as your default browser, then you say set as default. So every time you view it, it will view it in Chrome. Was that clear? Okay, and you had view it with Chrome and then browse. Now it will open Chrome to view your page. All right, so you can see we changed the radius and then we changed the shadow color. All right. Now we want to go to the main page, and we want to add, like, welcome to my website, something to make it value, and then we want to add three things. We want to add the login, username, password, and we want to add a button to say submit or log in, and a button that says register. Okay, so how are we going to do this? First, I'm going to say welcome to my page. Or my site. Okay, welcome to my site. Now notice, I want to change the format of this. Okay, the way you can do that, notice here you have the alignment. Do you see the alignment? You can say align center. Okay, it is already centered. Okay, align center, because we're using the style that we have. Notice, do you remember the style that we have? It says align center in the div. I'll show you what we're talking about. Remember this? We say text align center. That's why you're seeing it already centered. But suppose it wasn't there. I'm going to delete it from here and go back to the default page. Notice now it's not centered. So if you want to center this using Visual Studio, what do? You can say align center. So now it's centered in the page. If you want different headings, you click on here. Do you see that? None. It says, now you can select, for example, heading 1, heading 2, whatever heading you want. واضح? All right? Yes? All right. Of course, you can change also the color. If you want to change the color of this, you can say you can say here the text color, foreground color. You can select whatever color you want. If you want blue, you hit OK. Now it is blue. If you look, if you want to view the source and the text at the same time, the design at the same time, what do? You click on split. So now I can see my text here, the things that I have, and the design at the same time. And I'll show you something here. If I click on, remember we changed the style for the heading, the heading, right? Now notice it included. Let me just show you the source. If you look at your code, what do you have here? You have your style sheet. Do you see that? You have your style, border solid, that's style 1, and I have another style 2. So what happens now, you have a mix between, you have your style sheet file outside and you have a style inside. And here for the text it says, notice that header class 2 style, right? I am using which class I'm using? Style 2. And I have a style 1, but if I don't want this style, I don't want these, I want it to be used from the style sheet. So what you can do, you can copy these styles if you want to, copy it from here and add them where? In your main style file. So you don't have them in two different places. You got my idea? Yes or no? Okay. But we leave it as it is. Yeah, I don't know why it changed it. It should have not changed it. Okay, it should have just used the one from the other one, especially for the div. The div we specified. I want to use a style. Which class? Remember which class we said? Okay. Anyway, you can move this into your other file if you want. Okay. طيب. Let's go back to the design. What we want to add a table. Why do we add a table? We want to add a table to make our field organized. They are not floating everywhere. They are in a specific position, and it doesn't matter if we resize the page or not. They're in the same. They will be organized. So what do? We want to insert a table. In this table, we want one cell for the user ID, one cell for the fields, and one for the password label, and one for the password field, and then one row for the two buttons, log in and log out. Is that clear? So what I'm going to do, I'll say here, we want 3 columns, 3 rows, and 2 columns. We don't want any borders. We don't want any the cell padding. You can say how many spaces you want in the cell padding. You can do all of the design here. You can select the background color of your table, but we don't want that. We want it to be just a plain table. If you hit OK, you will get your table. واضح? Now I want to say I want to add few things here. First, I'm going to type here enter what? Enter ID. And in the second one, I want to enter what? I want to put the text field that has the ID. So I have a text field here, text box, and this is what it looks like. واضح? And the same thing here, I can add enter password, and I'll add another text box in here, and then this is my password. Now, how do we want to organize? What alignment do we want to use? Here it says center. So I don't want it center. I can do either right, justified like that, and here right justified. And this one I will make it what? Left justified. It didn't like it, but I don't know. It's not liking that left justify left for the text field. Anyway, leave it as it is right now. You can move it. I don't think you can move it. You have to do paddings. Okay. Now you have to select you need to select not the text field, but the table itself. The table cell itself. So you do that. So it looks like this. All right. At the bottom, we want to add 2 buttons, or we want to add a regular button first, and I'm going to add a link button in the second cell. So we have a button here and a link button here. Oh, did I say hyperlink? It's not a hyperlink. We want a link button. Okay. You can do a hyperlink if you want. Doesn't matter. Okay. All right, let's just name those elements so we can use them in our code, right? So let's pin the properties and select each one of them. So this one is going to be what? txt what? txt id. And this one what? txt pass. The button we will call, before we do that, do you see this, the enter password? Now the password has to be hidden. It cannot be like clear text. So there is something here called text mode. Do you see that? Text mode. Text mode. Do you see it? If you click on it and then you drop down, you have something called what? Password. Yeah. So in the property there is something called text mode, and then you select password. The button, what do we want to do with the button? We want to call it btn login. Do you see this thing here, link button? Yeah. What we want to do here, we want to say, the text says link button, but what do we want to say here? Register. So when you click on it, you register. You want to register, right? All right. All right. Now, do you see this register? What should happen when you click on the register? Yeah, Fatmi. What should happen to when you click on the register? Do you see this thing called postback URL? You have something called postback URL. Do you see it? If you click on that, and then you click on the dots, you will get the pages that are available in your website. So which page that we wanted to go to? The register page. And then you hit OK. In the register, you have something called postback URL. You click on the dots, and then you can select the page that you wanted to go to. All right? Now we can do the same thing in the register page, right? We want to go back. We will add a button to go back. Okay, we're not going to work on the register page today, but we will. I'll show you later next time. There is something here. Do you see this here? Now remember, I showed you we can do validation using JavaScript. Remember, we've done it. On click. Then we have code to check if it's empty or not. Then we display alert. Sah wala la? You still need to know how to do that. But there is another way to do it using Visual Studio. In your toolbox, you have something called validation. Do you see it? In the toolbox. You have something called validation. You see it? One of them is called required field validator. Required field validator. Do you see it? So if I drag it and drop it next to the user ID field. Clear? And I do the same thing for the password. Now I want to change the color of these two. Let me repeat it again. You want me to repeat it again? All right. Here in the validation, do you see that? You have something called required field validation. All I have to do, drag it and drop it and put it next to the text field. It has a text, okay? What I want to do, I want to change the color of this to say something, for example, red. Or maybe different color, okay, whatever, but let's say red. Hit okay. And this one also, I want to make it red. Hit okay. So what is the purpose of these things that we just put? This validation is similar to JavaScript. I was saying is that you check if you don't enter anything. Listen, if you don't enter anything here and I click on this button, it will tell you, wait a minute, this thing will appear. This thing will appear. If you don't, if you actually enter something, it will not disappear. So what will not appear? So before it sends it to the server, it checks, do you have information in this field or not? Now it doesn't tell you if it is valid user or not. All of this has to happen on the server side. But all what it does, is it empty or not empty? That's all it's doing right now. There's other thing is called expression validation. Means what? It means that if you enter a phone number and you want this phone number to have certain format, then you can say, I'll use regular expression validation. Okay? We're not going to cover that. We'll do that simple validation. All right. Now, in the property of this, in here, you need to do two things. First, I need to tie this field, this validator, with the field that I'm trying to validate. And also the second part, I want it to appear only if there is error. So the first thing I need to do is that there's something called control to validate. You see it? If you click on the control to validate, you'll see that I have the ID and the password. So which one I select? The ID for that one. And I'll pin it for now. And the text message, the error message saying required field, right? I don't want it to say that. I want it to say what? I will put the asterisk field because it's usually a sign of an error. The star. ID cannot, user ID cannot be blank. Or please enter user ID, right? Please enter user ID. You got the idea? The other thing I want this only to appear when? I want it to appear when it is when there is actually error. Okay, so there is, do you see this display thing called display? Right now it says static. That means it will appear all the time. We don't want it to say static. We want it to say dynamic. So when the first thing the page appear, it does not, that error message does not show. Only if there is an error, it would show. You got the idea? So we repeat the same thing with the other one. Okay, so the error message, it should say, what should it say? It should say, please enter the other thing that we need to do, display what? Dynamic. And the control to validate is which one? The password. TXT pass. Clear? We're almost done, except for the button. Now we need to do what with the button? We wanted to say log in, right? So the button, I need to say for the button, log in. Instead of say button, we say login. I don't know why I did that, but it's alright. I don't know, it changed the design, but it should have not. Alright. Now let's view it in the browser. Just click on run and see what happens. If we click on run, says we want to debug, yes, hit OK. What do you think is going to happen? First, these messages should not appear. Only they appear when you have an error, if it ever shows up. But we're still waiting. I'll put it on pause. Right. So this is what you see in the Internet Explorer. Now what happens, watch. If I don't enter anything and I click on the login, what would happen? You get, please enter what? User ID and password. Now if I enter something, anything, it doesn't matter what it is, when I do login, those messages do not appear. Right? That's what the validation does. Now of course it doesn't do anything, but if when you click on the register, it would open. I should have not done that, okay, because we didn't do it as a URL. Okay, this is my default page. All right. واضح? So what I want to do next, I want to add some code to validate the username and the ID. Before I do that, let's make sure everybody. The next thing we need to do is that we need to code this login button. So if I double click on this button, it takes me to the code. Right? Now, what are the two fields that I have? I have ID and password. If they are empty, do you reach this button or not? Do you think? No. It only reaches this button if the validation was correct. I mean, they have entered some value, and then you will receive this information here. So what do I need to do? I need to create two things. I need to say, with an if statement, simple if statement. Before we do that, I need to add a label. Let me show you what we need to do. Because I want to tell the user that the information that you enter is invalid. The username and the password are invalid, right? So we need to create a label. And in that label, we need to put a message saying that your information that you enter is incorrect. So what I do, I go to the default page, and let's just add a label at the end here. Here you have a label, and then let's just add it here. Now, in the property for this label, we're going to call it LBL message. And the text is empty. No text. All right? And the color, do you see that for color? I want to make it also red. So this message will have a value only if you click on, if the validation was correct. واضح? So I go back to the code, and then I'll put what? If txt underscore ID equal, how do you check that text? That text. How do you compare text field in C#? Like this, or do you have to compare strings? How do you do it? No, you don't have that. In Java, you have is equal. Okay. If txt.text is equal Ali, for example, ID, and txt pass dot text equal what? 1, 2, 3. That means it is a valid user. But it doesn't like something here. Huh? What? No. Oh, here you have one equal. Yeah. All right. What do we say here? We put a bracket. And else, what do we put? Bracket again. So what I want to do, we will do something else later on, but I want to show you that this is valid or not valid, right? So I will put LBL. Do you remember LBL? That message, that text equal valid user. You are welcome to my website. You are welcome to enter, right? My website. Site. Okay. Else, what do I say? LBL text, you are not welcome, right? Or you can say invalid user ID, whatever. I'm just trying to make it a little bit funny. But you can say wrong username, or password. Why do you say password or? This is how you usually do it, right? Because if you just say wrong, if you say wrong username, that means they try different username. If you say wrong password, معناتها username is correct, only the password is wrong. So they can try different passwords, right? So this is how you should do it. So if you go back to the default, and then let's run it again. Now, if I enter Ali, and I enter 1, 2, 3, and I do log in, you are welcome to use my website, right? Now, if I type in something else, and I do log in, wrong username or password. Clear? Yes or no? Let me show you the code again. This is what we did. All right. The last thing I want to do in this code, this example, is that if it's a valid username and ID, it should send me to the main page. Right? So what do? I have something called response object. This response object is that, remember when I say you receive a request from the client, the server acts on this request and send back a response to the client. So I'm going to tell the computer or the client that, oh, you're okay, so I want you to go to the next page, to the main page. So how do I do it? I say redirect means take me to another page. And I will put here the name of the page that I wanted to take the user to. Now, this is the basic concept, but there's more involved. Later on, I'll tell you how to only take you to that page, and that page is accessed only with the people that have authority to view it. Okay? So this is what we need to do. But before I do that, I need to go back to the main page and just add a few things so we know that we are on the main page. Right? So if I go back to the design, here is my page, and I will add something, well, just to say main page of my site. Okay, of the site. Yeah. Next time we will continue with this example. Okay, so I wanted to make this text heading 2, and I want to make it centered. Okay. واضح? Now, if I run it, if I type in wrong information, see, it sent me to the wrong page. I don't want to be here. Okay, it should send me to the default page. Okay, so if I go to the default page and I run it, now if I type in any information, I'll get this error message, wrong username. If I type in nothing and I do log in, I get what? Please enter your name and ID. And it, before actually it goes to the server, is doing that on the client. Now if I type in the information, the proper information, and I do log in, it will take me to the main page. Clear? So this is basic example of HTML with ASP and some login information. Alright, next time I'll cover what we call the session, and I'll start getting into the database. Alright? يلا يعطيك العافية. Yeah.